Jesus prophesies, the sun of life will begin to shine tremendously. Chapter 40, about the spiritual circumstances of our time. The Lord. The true faith and the pure love will be completely extinguished during that time. Instead of these things, a faith of delusion will be forced upon the people, with the most severe criminal laws as consequence when failing to adhere to them, like a malicious fever that forces death upon the human body. The arbiters of this delusion will be false teachers and prophets, who, possessing an abundance of gold, silver, precious stones, and many other great earthly goods, and who, arrogant, imperious, and selfish as they are, will present themselves to the people as your sole true successors and as my representatives, in order to be deeply honored. However, one or the other congregation that is strengthened by my spirit will rise up against them, and they will show them that they are exactly the opposite of what they present themselves as to the people, forcing them with the most insolent and God-forsaken impertinence to only search for the salvation of their souls and the truth among them. As a result of this confrontation, battles, wars, and persecutions will occur, the likes of which have not taken place upon this earth since the beginning of man. But the very worst and darkest conditions will not last for long, and then it will come to pass that, in the end, the false teachers and prophets will receive the death blow by their own hands. Because it is then that my spirit, meaning the spirit of all truth, will awaken among the people, tormented in a myriad of ways. The sun of life will begin to shine tremendously, and the night of death will descend into its old grave. I have prophesied this dark time to you on a few occasions already, and I have merely mentioned it once again today, so you may be able to see the correspondence between tonight's occurrence and the times to come. Behold, this small village, surrounded on almost all sides by Gentile villages and towns, is still inhabited by a small number of Jews who, like the Orthodox Samaritans, belong to a more pure form of Judaism, for whom the laws of the temple are, for the most part, an abomination. They know of the temple's evil and the confused activities therein, although they cannot resist it. Their neighbors are Gentiles who do not think highly about their idols either, but for the sake of appearances, they must still do as if these were important to them. In actuality, however, they believe in nothing other than making a good profit, one way or another. And so, you see, thus will it be in the time to come, which I have prophesied, only on a worldwide scale. A pure congregation will continue to exist, in the same manner as the aforementioned little village, initially surrounded by people without any faith, who merely engage in profitable businesses of all kinds, who will not care about my pure teaching, and even less so about the infamous paganism of Rome at that time. Under these circumstances, will the pure congregation too begin to appear widowed and sorrowful. My pure teaching will resemble the sorrowful widow, whose dead son I brought back to life. The faith, however, corresponds to the dead son I revived. He was killed by the malicious fever that, as mentioned previously, relates to the worldly mentality of only pursuing profit, which these people were starting to adhere to as well, specifically because of the abhorring and evil deception of Jerusalem, as well as the complete absence of faith of the Gentiles surrounding the village. who, during the terrible time to come that was prophesied, will be called industrialists. The formerly pure, and as such, still young faith was established only about 16 years ago by a Samaritan who came to live here, and who was the husband of this widow. And because of all that, this faith was lost to the fever of the worldly mentality. It died, and we found it as such. But that is when I myself arrive, to convert the Gentiles, and, together with them, travel to this place during the most somber evening of this congregation. I revive the dead faith, and return it to the widow, to the pure teaching of God. And after this deed of mine, all the Gentiles will come to this place, except the newly awakened faith in the sole true God, and will arrange their lives according to the will He has made known to them, His will. However, the blind girl whose eyesight I returned represents the utterly faithless industry of that time, of which I am now speaking. And it will be sparse and scanty to such an extent that the excessively proud and splendor-loving kings will forcefully demand enormous taxes from the people, even from what they eat and drink. Because of that will emerge great need, inflation, and lack of faith and love among the people, who will cheat and persecute one another. But remember this well. When the need will be greatest, then I will come for the sake of the few righteous ones, to erase the misery from the earth, and I will let my pure light of life shine within the hearts of the people. And with what I have told you now, my dear brother James, I have given the clues you desired from me. You are a vigorous thinker, so the rest should come to you easily. Although foreknowledge of such a wretched future will not bring bliss to the soul of man, it will nevertheless not harm him either when he trains himself in the correspondences, and by that perceive how everything visible and everything that occurs in this world closely relates to the inner hidden world of the spirits, enclosing within itself all times and spaces in a continuously revealed present. Have all of you understood this well now? Chapter 41. The disciples' question about the obfuscation of the pure teaching of Christ. Then they all said, "Yes, Lord and Master, that which you have now clarified to us once again we have understood well. But despite the many things we have received about this topic from your very mouth, it is still not completely clear why, every time a light from your heavens descends upon the people of this world, you allow a deep and long-lasting spiritual night to follow." All of us who are now receiving the purest teaching from your very mouth will, as living witnesses of your personal presence, deeds, and teachings, pass it on to others just as pure as you have given it, and our successors will do so as well. And if there were to be someone who would preach another gospel to the people in your name, then you will see it and certainly know of it. Your power and might will surely enable you to silence such a prophet. If that were to happen, then we cannot conceive of how your pure and divine teaching could ever be falsified, or even twisted into a most sinister and crude form of paganism. Said I, "You still do not realize many a thing, which I can certainly understand though, and thus I'd still have many a thing to tell and explain to you. But you would not be able to grasp and bear it. However, once I have ascended and poured out my spirit of all truth upon you, it will guide you into all wisdom, And that is when you will understand and grasp everything which you are still far from being able to understand and grasp. However, behold and pay attention to what I will say to you now. I will not give you a teaching, but merely a myriad of meaningful examples, from which it will become clear why you still cannot understand and grasp many a thing, despite the fact that you have already seen and heard so many things from me. Behold and observe the light of the sun and the manifold effects it has on the creatures of just this earth, and the rain that falls upon the soil and its manifold effects on the surface of the earth, on the plants, animals, and men. Upon one and the same field, both healthy herbs and poisonous weeds grow. Whence do the poisonous herbs receive their toxins, considering they are bathed in the light of the same sun, their roots dwelling in the same soil, and moistened and invigorated by the same rain and dew? You see, this is brought about by the inner spirit, changing and twisting the characteristic properties of the light and the rain. The lion, the panther, the tiger, the hyena, the wolf, and many other predators feed on the flesh of gentle animals, and yet they are illuminated and warmed by the same sun. They quench their thirst with the same water as the gentle and tame pets. So, whence does their ferocity originate? Behold, it comes from their inner spirit, transforming the gentleness within themselves into a raging wildness. Enter a house, and there you will find a married couple, blessed with many children. Those children all have one and the same father, one and the same mother. They enjoy the same food at the table of their parents. They receive the same education and the same care. And yet, despite all this, one child is strong in body, the other weak. Another child is cheerful and zealous in everything it does, and yet again another child is grumpy and lazy. Once again, another of those children has many talents and is able to learn and understand everything quite easily. And yet again another is one full of goodwill, but it lacks talents. It only learns with great difficulty and is slow to understand, and seldom in the manner the lessons should be understood. And in this manner you will find many more such differences among these children. Now then, what is the reason for this? Would you not like to say here as well? But Lord and Master, why do you allow this? What wise purpose could this be good for? Yes, behold, this too is the doing of the inner free spirit. It is him that does it all. If it were not so, then there would not be an inner free spirit, whose task it is to develop and form itself into an independent existence. How this is possible and why it is so, I have already shown you on many different occasions, and I have explained it to you visually as well. And yet, you still do not understand these things deeply enough, because the eternal spirit of all truth and wisdom does not yet thoroughly permeate and fill your souls. However, if you will consider these images that were shown to you a little more carefully, then it will soon become clear to you how the purest light from my heavens can and will, in time, be transformed into the deepest darkness. And that, in the end, I must allow it, for I can and must not, even with all the power and might in my possession, interfere with the free spirit of life in man. How would you like an earth upon which one thing would be exactly like the other, just like one eye resembles the other? How would you like the people if they would be the same in everything, like among the sparrows, where no individual member is wiser and stronger than the other? I do believe such a mathematically equal world would become quite the bore ever so quickly. And would it be different in my free heavens if therein would not exist endlessly greater diversity and variety? Or what would you think of my wisdom if I had given all creatures the shape of an egg? So you see, everything is correct and good as it is. Now, as I have said, you cannot see the reason for a lot of things, but the time will come when all of you will grasp and understand. So, let us be satisfied with what has been given to us until now. However, there is still food and wine sitting before us upon the tables. So, let us do something for our body as well. Thereafter, we will rest for the night, and early in the morning we will be on our way once again. Where to, the Spirit of the Father will let us know.